Welcome to the TJ Walker Success Show. We have a good one for you today. We have one of the top AI minds in the world and one of the top young entrepreneurs in the world joining us today. He's advised governments in Korea. He's on the Forbes Business Council. He's been a managing director at TechCurators. He started not one, not two, not three, but five successful companies. And he's the founder and chief AI officer of Rabbitt AI. It is my pleasure to invite Harneet Singh to the show today. Harneet, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, TJ. Thanks a lot for having me here.
Happy that you're here. Glad you could join us. So much swirling around in the world of AI these days. Of course, a lot of people in America have been panicked by DeepSeek and supposedly the Chinese doing things very inexpensively compared to a lot of Americans. You have a lot of experience already doing things inexpensively, I guess, compared to a lot of American IT talent. Tell us and let's show people what we're talking about specifically. It's Rabbitt AI is your latest venture.
Yeah,
And tell us about Rabbitt AI and where you're positioned in the whole world of AI development.
sure. So I'll start from a little bit from my journey, and then I'll take you why we found Rabbit AI and where we found the gray area in the market.
Okay.
So from the very beginning, I was always a fan of Bill Gates. I remember in my fifth class when I first got my computer science book, Bill Gates photo printed and written that Bill Gates is the richest man in the world. And I was always curious as a child, what did this guy do to become the richest man of the world? And what can I do? That's where my interest for coding computers always, aroused from there. And then in class 8th, I made first functional website in 2000s, first functional website for my school, and then I started that as a part-time gig to make websites for all the restaurants and
Well,
cafes and
that's kind of the way Bill Gates started. His new autobiography came out. He said he didn't speak to his parents for weeks at a time and snuck out of home at night to break into a school where he would do computer programming all night long. So
so making
I didn't I
websites.
didn't I didn't tell my daughter the part about, he's successful because he didn't speak to his parents and was surly for weeks at a time. But go ahead.
So I was always, finding passion in building websites, and I was like, oh, I can make something work on the computer on the World Wide Web. So as a child, I was also very fascinated about that. So that's where my journey began. And then I went to IIT Delhi, which is one of the Ivy League universities of India, where even the acceptance rate is less than Harvard and Stanford. And I got admitted there. And during my IIT time, I was always doing tech as well, but entrepreneurship is the area where I was drawn to. And then I founded my first company, TechCurators, which was entirely bootstrapped. We closed 14 million ARR and above. TechCurators also, we were using AI that time when ChatGPT was not even a hype. We were using AI to create assessments. We were using AI to create learning content. At TechCurators, if I give a brief, most of our customers were US universities and other e-learning and hiring companies who used to take assessments and learning content from us. So we automated a lot of our stuff and processes through RPA, through basic Python scripts and neural network models. But that time we did not used to talk about AI because that was a taboo, right? People wanted entirely human generated things. But on the back
Mhm.
end, we were having more than 80% profitability just by doing that stuff. And eventually I founded another company, Transcurators, and fast forward to 2022, where we were researching already on transformer architecture and these research papers by Google and all that stuff, along with our professors, some professors from IIT Delhi and UC Berkeley. So we were like, can we build something like this? And suddenly, chat gpt came into picture in November 2022, and we are like, wow, this is super awesome. They've shown us that this can be done. Now computers can generate human like language and do a lot more things which was earlier not possible. Now I always were like that, I also want to build something like that. And now if this is a possibility and AI is actually making moves, can we jump into this? That's where we started putting our thinking hats on, and we were generating good cash from our previous businesses. I had exited one company, and plus my two of the companies were running good, making profits. So we were like, why can't we build something like this? And that's where we put our thinking hats on, and we thought, what will the world require in this age of AI? So one thing I got from reading the book of Larry Ellison, Oracle founder, because I'm a huge fan of this guy after Bill Gates, right?
I'm
And
sorry, Larry Ellison or Steve Jobs?
Larry Ellison,
Larry
Oracle,
Ellison, the founder of was it
Oracle,
Oracle? Yes, Oracle.
Oracle. Yeah, yeah. So Larry, so even his book's name is the difference between Larry and God is that God isn't Larry.
Okay.
Okay. So there is a cult, which, of course, Steve Jobs has a cult and Apple has a cult, but Larry Ellison himself has a cult. And I am one of the people who's hardcore fans of Larry Ellison. If probably he someday listens this to this show, I want to meet him and definitely. So Larry's book,
Well,
I read
let's
that.
hope he's watching. Well, we do know that Sacred Space Life Coaching is watching and saying hello. We appreciate those of you joining us live. And if you're watching it on demand, you can post comments too. But if you want to speak directly with Harneet, you can also, we'll post the link. You can even join us on screen. I'll have our producer, Ben, post that link as well in just a moment. Uh, so, Harney, please continue on your journey. And I mean, I know a little bit about India, having been a handful of times, and I know certainly India is well known for having deep, rich technology talent. But it's
Yes.
also a hard place in some respects to be entrepreneurial because just basic infrastructure. I remember you're in Bangalore today. I remember just trying to get half a mile in Bangalore 18 years ago. It took like 2 hours. The traffic, some of the infrastructure, some of the IT, electricity, there are challenges working there. What's been your biggest challenge as an entrepreneur in India?
Okay. So see, the challenge is actually Indian market is very, very even there are challenges, but the market here is very demanding. They want outcome for every penny, and people will not fund you if you can't show real outcome. People will not trust you if you can't move the needle in the very first go. So I would say even being an entrepreneur in India and developing profitable businesses from here is even more difficult than doing that in SF or UK and other places. So one thing, so the challenge is definitely that nobody will believe you unless you show it on a global scale. So what happens in US is you show it in US, they support you, they acknowledge you, they appreciate you, then they take you to the world. But in India, and I believe this is true for every emerging economy, they will not believe in revolutionary ideas from the very beginning. Number one, there's a lot of population, and number two, of course, the resources are limited, so they won't invest that freely. So you have to prove yourself on a global stage to actually be appreciated in India. That's the biggest challenge.
Hmm.
So I said I work with international governments first for defense. I work with international governments and US universities first for education, for learning development and assessments in AI. And then we got a chance back home. And then we got a recognition back home. So I guess that's a challenge. You have to be here. You have to get the talent from here. But sitting here, you have to serve the entire world. And I guess you become very frugal, you become very money conscious, profitability conscious, and you learn to live with constraints. Maybe that helps you a lot in that journey.
Well, it
I
sounds like
hope.
it certainly worked out nicely for you. I am reminded this was more than 20 years ago. I had a top media trainer in Delhi reach out. No, and sorry, in Mumbai, reach out to me. Said, TJ, I want to be your partner. I want to be the media training worldwide outfit for India. And we did a whole partnership deal. He came over, we started working together. And I asked him one day, I said, why did you want to align with me? Why did you want to be media training worldwide? He said, TJ, you're based in New York. That's perceived as Indians as high class, media capital of the world. And people in India, this was 20 years ago, said
Mhm.
they felt that things that were based in the US were higher quality, fairly or unfairly, than things based in Mumbai. Now, this was 20 years ago. So that was, I guess, a prejudice, you would say, that worked in my favor.
Mhm.
And there's different ways of advancing any business. Now, I know if I try to sell my services in London, people would look down on me. An American? I don't want to sound like an American. They're uncouth and not smart. So these prejudices and ways of getting in and out of markets can work in a lot from a lot of different directions.
Kind of true if you go 20 years back, but today I guess that gap is kind of
Changed.
change. It is changing because of globalization and all,
Mhm.
and
As
world
it
has
should. Yeah.
world has actually become a global village, and you don't see these kind of things here itself. But of course,
I mean,
I
I can tell
guess.
you it's definitely changed in the sense that I know with other ventures I've done, I probably shouldn't say this too loudly. I pretty much narrowed my limit to IT specialists based in India for several projects and
Hmm.
apps I've worked on in the last few years, and I was very, very happy with the service. Hope that doesn't seem like I'm pandering, but anyway, let's take a look at your latest venture,
Yeah, yeah,
Rabbit AI.
coming.
AI
Yeah,
means a lot of things, and we've gotten to the point where every single business is sort of adding AI to their name. And I'm guilty of it as well because I have TJ Walker AI, which we'll talk about later. But I want to hear specifically, what is Rabbit AI?
yeah. So I'll continue from there. When GPT was coming up, and we thought what we can do in this space, where is the gap? So we realized that this is a land grab situation. AI is right now a land grab situation. And in a land grab situation, people with funds, people with power, people with money will want to own stuff and would not want to rent stuff. So we're like, is it a possibility that rather than sending data to models, can we bring the model inside an enterprise? For enterprises, can we privately build models and give them this thing as a service, as a product, and create our niche? Because GPT was not doing that. They are proprietary models where you can use them on an API basis or on a front end basis, but you can't own them. You can't host GPT in your premise, and you can't be really, really secure about it. And most of our business, as I said, Rabbit AI is also into London and India. So Europe market also, there's a lot of GDPR and other privacy laws which were banning the use of these models. Plus, it was very difficult for enterprises to trust these models to send their data to some other proprietary model. So we identified this gap and we said that we will bring the models inside the VPC of enterprises and give similar accuracy like GPT, fine tune it for economics, like make it cheaper, make it faster, and make it work for the enterprise use case.
Mhm.
That was the problem statement we started with. And then we thought, what could be the possibility? Then we came up with this analogy after brainstorming that ChatGPT is like a lion. Okay. So they are big brain, which is hosted somewhere. And that's true for any proprietary model. They know everything about all the things, right? You talk of news, finance, politics, legal, education, customer experience. They know everything. So they are the jack of all trades, but master of none that time. They were improving. So we like, can we pick up some niche domains and make our models smaller, better, cheaper, and faster? These were the things, fundamentals. Smaller, better means more accurate, cheaper economically, and faster. Smaller, better, cheaper, faster. What we can do? Then that time we came up with the concept of SLMs, small language models. We picked up open
Mm.
source models like Mistral, Falcon. We signed up certain clients, and we are like, we can make it work for you with Rabbit AI. We can give you an accuracy equivalent to GPT at one third or one fourth of the cost, and everything sits inside your premise. That was our product. So we made our own
So how does
annotation.
that give us a particular application? I know that education is one of your niches. Walk
Yeah,
us through how you work with education, because I'm in the online education business. So
yeah.
I'm being a little selfish here. I want to hear how your particular solution works with education establishments.
Sure. So I'll give you one case study. So there's an Ivy League university in the US for whom we have created an AI powered LMS and AI powered content generation engine. Now, how that works, I'll tell you. That university has a lot of research papers, proprietary research papers, manuals, data, assessments, all that stuff lying in the knowledge base for the past, maybe 50 years or more. And they want to give this information to their learners, to their faculty, and to their course subscribers, the online ones and the in-campus ones. They wanted to build their internal GPT, which can run through all of this knowledge base and the reasoning, maths, and general education knowledge, and can act as a personalized tutor and personalized doubt solver for all the students which are subscribed to the which are subscribed to the university, as well as the researchers and faculty which is working for the university. So that was the problem statement. So what we
And then
did
I
was,
may dive a little deeper right there, but a quick note, if you want to speak directly to Harneet or ask him a question, all you have to do is push the button in the comment section. And you don't have to type in a question. Your face will be on screen or your voice. And you can ask Harneet a question directly if you have one. You can also type in questions too in the comment section. And forgive me for jumping ahead, but I just have to ask, so for the Ivy League school, and you don't have to mention each one, I would think every single professor would love to be able to have their own, I guess you call it a small
taxonomy.
language model with everything they've ever written, every lecture, every book, all in a model so that their students could ask the model questions, and maybe they don't have to do the live office hours, or maybe it would be seen as an additional tutor, still having the live classes. But have you gotten to that level of discussions with clients where each professor or each subject matter expert has their own, I don't know if you call it a clone or a
Hmm.
digital twin or what
And
wording you're using, but something like that?
so, in one word, this is technically feasible but not economically viable right now. For an enterprise like a university, where they have to cater to maybe 100,000 students overall, and they can run it on a scale basis, economies of scale work in terms of training the model and inferencing the model. But for an individual professor, it is not economically viable. We can do that stuff because technically it is a possibility. Maybe once the cost of compute goes even more down, this will be much more economically viable solution. But technically we have reached to that level where we can create this kind of stuff. And
Mhm.
the project we have done for this Ivy League university, it somehow creates the content basis. The Let's say if there are 20 professors and all the 20 professors persona is there, the kind of content lecture slides they have created built upon that knowledge base, this model can create that kind of lecture slides from the bigger database and can also answer queries of the students in more technical terms, right?
Mhm.
The writing style or the teaching style of professor, that is another layer which will require another level of training, compute, and exercise for building that. But technically it is possible. Discussions are happening. Only thing is, if a professor is willing, if I give you an estimate, typically it takes $40,000 to $50,000 to train this kind of model, bare minimum, right?
Mhm.
And then to run it on an annual basis, I guess it'll take another, on an average, $10,000 a year. So these are the kind of budgets we are looking at to run this, and if the number of users are more, it can go even higher. So I guess
Mhm.
economically it is a little less viable
Let's talk
than.
about the economics in just 1 minute. Our special guest is Harneet Singh. He is a serial successful entrepreneur. He's the founder and head of AI research. He's the chief AI officer at Rabbitt AI, which is rabbit with two T's dot AI. If you want to check out the website, and I'll just show it again right here, you can take a look at it and we'll come back to that. But let's talk about the economics. What percentage of your clients currently are using your services just because, wow, everyone's talking about AI, their investors are talking about it. If they don't just have a lot of AI stuff, they're going to be seen as dinosaurs and they're not even worried about making money yet. Versus, do you have clients who are actually taking your services and then either making money or really seeing how it's dramatically cut their costs so they're saving a lot of money?
Okay. Yeah, interesting question. So I would say so far 70% of the use cases are where they are trying to cut down costs or add more efficiency layer. So if I give an example, so for generation of content, educational content, training content, it is more about kind of reducing the current costs. If they require a lot of faculty experience to create that kind of content, to vet that kind of content, now our model is acting like a content generation co-pilot for them, which is reducing their operational cost. But at the same time, there are 30 to 35% of the cases where it is utilized in functions which are directly increasing revenue. For example, in marketing and customer experience.
Hmm.
So models are getting used to automate the marketing content generation, social media content generation, which kind of builds up their online profile tomorrow, which can drive more business to the company. And similarly, for customer experience, a lot of inbound users were coming to your site, answering them, converting and nurturing those cold leads into warm leads, and then passing it to your tech consultant or a salesperson. So these are also the use cases where we are seeing that people want to integrate into increasing their revenue. But if I give you another perspective, the big companies, the Fortune 500s we work with, they are mostly looking at increasing efficiencies and bringing down costs and finding newer ways of doing things rather than revenue. Most of these their teams are concerned with imply, implementing AI, and probably which looks nicer on the picture. They get awards for that solutions, and they don't want to be the laggards in the race. So
Hmm.
that is the perspective. But if you talk of mid-sized companies and some good startups, they're trying to integrate these kind of solutions in their core business, and core business definitely drives revenue and growth.
And
So
who
this is the
is, I mean, who is making money off of a core business now that isn't spending $10 billion training for every 1 million of revenue? I mean, OpenAI, they're having no problems raising money. They're not even trying to be profitable. So I'm not counting
not making
people like
money.
that. But are there startups you're working with who are actually profitable? And I'm not saying that should be the only metric. There's a case to be
Yeah,
made that AI now is like electricity. And yeah, you could have a business before there was electricity, but once electricity came out, if you didn't
yeah,
incorporate electricity in everything you did, you
yes,
became roadkill. You became a dinosaur. And as I think about it, there's very few things I do on a regular basis now anymore that don't involve AI. This video we're doing will be chopped up into YouTube and TikTok shorts using Opus AI, which for all I know is one of your clients.
focus AI.
Things will be things will be distributed other places using AI. When we title these videos, an AI program is used to come up with the best title. So I mean, AI is sort of worming itself into every aspect of life. But
Hmm.
I am curious, are there any startups you're working with that you can name where
Hmm.
they're really making money from it because they've created a product or a service that people value to the point where they're paying money?
So I guess one of the startups is us only. We are profitable. The amount of funding we have raised, our revenue is more than that, and our profitability is also nearing our funding amount. If I give you
Oh, that's nice.
financials, and I have a theory for this, right? So let's say when steam engine was invented, or engine as a whole was invented, so the people who actually made the most impact and money were not the ones who were making engines or making better engines or selling engines, but the ones who made car out of that engine and sold that car and became Ford, right?
Hmm.
And became Volkswagen. So similarly, in the field of AI, I guess the money is made by maybe incumbents, maybe other IT services companies who are utilizing AI in their core business to change the workflow, or they're making an application which is used by the end user. For example, if you hear in news, I guess the in the IT services landscape, the company which has made the most money from Gen AI is Accenture, right? Upwards of $2 billion in revenue, and of course, I guess 30% profitability out of that. So they are picking up a lot of work of annotation, data annotation, and making models better for other people. They're the ones who are making money. And this goes from the gold rush theory. This is history, right? People who make the most money in gold rush are not the ones who are mining gold, but the ones who are selling axes and shovels. So I get
And
Accenture.
Levi Strauss company actually made money by selling jeans with rivets in it that the workers could use. So there are a lot of different ways of making money in good times off of new technologies. There's no doubt about it. How can, if you don't mind putting your sales hat on, I want to, if you could indulge me, I want you to sell me and at least steer me in the right direction because I have an AI clone. I want to, for all I know, Rabbit AI is a good fit for me. I don't know yet, but I have an AI clone. I use a platform. I'm not a technologist. I didn't come up with technology. I use a platform called Delphi.ai. For all I know, that's one of your clients. I don't really know. So I
Mhm.
use their platform, and
Mhm.
they allow me to have a video, audio, text clone of myself. So everything I've ever written, said,
Mhm.
every book, it's all input into this database, which it can access. And if you would indulge me just briefly, because I do want your opinion of whether you can build this or how
Mhm.
it would be useful, uh, let me know. So we'll just do a quick test. Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you communicate more effectively? Hi, my name is Harneet, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm going on CNBC tomorrow to talk about all the innovative uses of my company, Rabbitt AI, for Fortune 500 companies, why they should be using my company. What advice do you have for me on how to come across confident, and what messages would you recommend? First off, Harneet, congratulations on the CNBC opportunity. That's a fantastic platform to showcase Rabbit AI and its potential for Fortune 500 companies. Let's make sure you absolutely nail it. Here's the thing about confidence, it's all about preparation and clarity. The more you rehearse your key points. So that's just a little taste. That gives you a kind of a taste. I mean, you can see it's not pulling from a recording. It's
Yeah.
mentioning the name I gave it, which I borrowed
Yeah.
yours. It's mentioning the particulars of CNBC and Rabbit AI. So, and it's not doing it just with text. I
Yeah.
am not excited at all about text chatbots. I'm
Mhm.
also personally not excited about audio, other
Mhm.
than as a secondary form. I think people need to see the expert if it's a training. I mean, I'm in the online education training space. But the
Mhm.
big flaw with my clone is that, by the way, I should tell you, I only paid $300 a month for that, or excuse me, $400 a month, one-time fee of $1,000 for the video. So I'm
Mhm.
using it as sort of a consumer end thing, but this is 6 months old. Now, the problem is I can't tell my clone, hey, TJ, I want you to really work with me on a regular basis and make me a better communicator. So give me a new 2-minute video lecture every day and text that to me. Give me a few
Mhm.
confidence tips and email it to me at noon each day. Uh, Send me a couple of clips of you giving a great speech as just an audio format that I can listen to at the end of the day, and do that, every day till I say stop, and have it reach out to me. That would be very powerful. As it is
Okay.
right now, people come, they ask a few questions. Oh, this is interesting. This is cool. Most of them do not come back because all the pressure is on the user to
Mhm.
initiate. I'm trying to create it like a true educational training coaching experience where once you
Mhm.
tell the coach what your goals are, that coach can then work with you and tell
Mhm.
you got to show up at practice and tell you when to work harder, give you reminders, call you if you need it. And while this is available, you can call it on a phone number. I was just accessing it through the website, obviously. You can text it on WhatsApp. It doesn't have the ability to then reach out to me after the one exchange. So it's very limited. So that's my big goal. What is your advice to me? And do you have something like this that's comparable where it's not just a video clone? There's a gazillion companies that do that. It's
Mhm.
that it's completely interactive and it only gives my ideas my perspective. So it's trained on about 14 million words that I've either said or written. And it was, pretty inexpensive.
Mhm. Interesting. No, that's a pretty wonderful use case. And if I also break it down technically, it's nothing but what we do, the model training, customized model training. Now the model understands your language and your style. Plus, it is mapped to a video generation tool, which is a 3D, tool like which is generating these kind of
It's
images.
using Tavis. They're one of the leading video generators, and then it's using 11 labs for the audio part.
Voice. Yeah, correct. So they are merging audio, video, and at the back end, there's just text generation happening like the way LLMs does or GPT does. Now, your use case, it's a pretty interesting use case from the user point of view and from any trainer and coach point of view. This can be built if we don't deal in video so far, but we deal in the backend models, training the backend models to make it much more like you and give more accurate answers like you. But maybe this seems like a good company where we can partner with them to improve their backend models. And the second thing is, now you need an agentic AI system on top of this, and you want to make this model really work. I'll explain in one line.
You see,
Now
I
you are
apologize. Excuse my ignorance. Is that the terminology I should be using? An agentic
AI.
add-on? Because I need an agent that can reach out, not just respond. Is that the terminology I should be using?
Yeah.
Got it.
So
Okay.
what's happening here right now? You as a human in the loop is calling this model or this clone of yours, and you are asking something, and it tells you something. Now you again will have to reach out to this model if you want to understand what this is an LLM model. Okay, what agentic AI does, it's like it imitates your behavior and you can automate those tasks. For example, you
Mhm.
can create an AI agent which knows that every 2 days I will call this model and ask these kind of questions. And basis the response, I'll pass this response to my end user. So agentic, if I say if LLM is an engine, agentic AI is a fully powered car, okay, with
Okay.
steering, with controls, with all that stuff. So this right now is an engine, but to make it more usable for the end user, we need to build an agentic structure on top of it, where you put on and you can customize the rules. Call me every 3 days, call me every 2 days, call
Yeah.
me 12 a.m. midnight, right? Stuff like that. You can build these rules, and this agentic system takes on the rules as well as intelligence of this model and behaves in the way as you want it to behave. And that is where
That's
we are.
definitely what I didn't know have the right vocabulary to describe it, but that's exactly my dream and hopes that I could do it as a video, as a phone call, as a Zoom call, as a text, as a call on WhatsApp or Telegram, or just as an email, that it could communicate with the student in any format, in any modality. That's really the goal. So it's agentic AI is what I need. How far away is that going to be without me having to spend $1 million on it? I guess is really the question.
I guess it's not very far. I say 2025 is the year of agentic AI. So
You think about a
right.
year. Mhm.
Yeah. So probably, towards the end of this year, you will see a lot of these things becoming mainstream. But today also, if you have a little bit of developer background, or if you have developers in your team, and if this particular company gives access to their APIs and all, we can build this agentic AI architecture on top of it, and it will probably take my team to build this agentic AI system in less than 5 weeks.
Mhm.
To improve the accuracy of model, that's a hectic task. But to automate this kind of stuff, that it works according to your stuff, and you can give it one prompt, and basis that it can call you every 3 days, it can call you every 2 days, it can give you that kind of stuff on an automated basis without
Well,
human in the
here's what
loop.
I was thinking of directing someone to a page. So I have two main clones. One that helps people with communication skills, public speaking, media training.
Yeah.
Another one that deals with life coaching. So every aspect of personal development. So that's a much bigger, broader one. And I've got a lot of content for both areas. I've got 300 online courses input in video courses input into the brain. I would love to have like a page it goes to where someone sees it and the video just comes on and says, "Hi, you've come to TJ's life coach. I need you to spend a few minutes telling me what your goals are and
Mhm.
what your priority is. And then how often would you like to get reminders from me?" I mean, you get reminders 1,000 times a day to drink soft drinks and eat bad food because we're all bombarded with ads all day long to eat
Yeah.
junk food to give us diabetes and obesity. So everybody's getting thousands, the estimates as many as 10,000 marketing messages. go in
Mm-hmm.
people's eyes and ears every day. So I wanted to ask people, how often do you want some reminder for the good habits? Get up out of your chair, exercise, drink green tea and water, and put away the sugary drinks. I can come to you in a daily 2-minute video. It could be a text, it could be email, it could be notifications on your phone. Tell me right now what you want to start with. And here's the default. Maybe I say, here's what most people want. And then they talk to me for a while. And then it just, boom. Some people might want 8 different ways of me reaching out, my agent reaching out to them a day. Some might
Mm-hmm.
want 50 a day. Some might want one per week. They might want one 20-minute video lecture a week, or one 15-minute audio on Friday afternoon. It seems like
Yeah.
if I could have an intro where it sort of says, what are you trying to do? Here are the options. Here's the standard. What do you want? If they could talk to it once and then it's set, and they don't have to think about reaching out again, they can just passively receive. Now, I would want them to be able to ask questions and get feedback too. But for a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people, just hearing reminders on good habits in a different format, I think would be extremely helpful. I mean, for me, I have a reminder on my, I get a text to myself just reminding me, TJ, drink 2 large glasses of water before every meal. And I get that before breakfast, before lunch, and before dinner. And I eat smaller portions and healthier. But that's something my clone could do as well. What do I need to make that happen? And you're saying it could be built onto my existing clone, but I need is it an agentic AI addition to my clone, or it's a whole different thing, or what is it exactly?
Yeah, it's an agentic AI addition to the clone, which can happen. Right on the back end, we can integrate with this clone and create a script, create a architecture where this clone is called multiple times, not by you, but by the agent. Okay, but by the script, but by the code, right? And so basically, it can have a dashboard which can take user inputs, that what do you want, how often you want to be recommended, which it just fills for one time, and all that passes as a prompt, as a system prompt to your model, and then the model starts behaving like this. So it's
Mhm.
a script add-on on top of your clone, and you can use any clone. For example, Delphi is one. There could be any other application. So with API integration, all that is possible. See, irrespective of whatever model, whatever platform you use, if they expose APIs, that's how two applications can talk to each other, and that's what we
Mhm.
just need
Mhm.
make it happen to make it work for you. I don't know whether this kind of low code, no code platform exists today, but for from a developer point of view, building this kind of thing is possible. It's possible. As I said, that it will take our team and myself to in less than 5 weeks we can build this kind of system
Mhm.
which automates all this stuff as per your preference. So you have a dashboard, you tell it, or you can give voice commands. So it's like an agent before an agent
Mhm.
or a model for a model. This model takes into your preferences, takes care of all the instructions, and then that model is your clone, which is having the brain and which is having all the, your knowledge and your it's trained on your persona.
Exciting
So
times, and who knows, we may have to work together. I'll talk to you after the show and see if there's any ways of
yeah.
doing that. But I don't want to be too selfish and spend all this time talking about me. Again, our special guest today is the renowned tech entrepreneur, Harneet Singh, one of the most respected entrepreneurs in India. He's a founder of 5 companies, including his latest, which is Rabbitt AI, and that's Rabbit with 2 B's and 2 T's AI. Tell us, who is your ideal prospect? I'm a small company. I mean, I've got 12 million student enrollments, and I'm
Hmm.
I'm active in every country in the world, I think, except for North Korea at the moment as far as students. But I'm a small company. Tell us about your ideal prospect. How do they come to you? How do you solve their problems?
So far, I guess if I talk of 2023, 2024, most of our ideal prospects have been either the unicorn companies, or the Fortune 500 companies, the big ones, because the compute is expensive, data is expensive, and owning the AI is expensive. And that's where we have picked up our niches, for example, defense, healthcare, education, and we are helping the bigger organizations own the
Mhm.
AI inside their premise. And that was the stuff. But as we are evolving into agentic AI applications
So they,
today,
just so I understand, they need to be billion-dollar organizations, basically, is your ideal
kinda,
prospect.
or at least multi-million, or I would say it that way that they should have at least $4 to $5 million in AI spends annually, bare
Yeah.
minimum to start with.
Mhm.
So they should have at least $4 to $5 million budget
That's a
on AI.
smidge more than my budget, but some of our viewers or listeners do work for big companies. So let's hope we get you some more business.
But that was the thing of past. I guess with DeepSeek coming in and with a lot of other democratization of models, the cost of compute has fallen by a
So how
lot.
does
And
how does DeepSeek affect a company like yours? And try try to explain this to me and our viewers and listeners here, because DeepSeek came out and all of a sudden, you saw Nvidia lose what, $500 billion practically overnight in market.
yeah,
I may have messed up that number, but it was a huge amount. The
600 billion
overall, I mean, I
of
know my stock portfolio went down. I didn't want to think about it, like 5% in one day, and people are thinking, "Oh my gosh, this means the tech boom is over. It's going to completely make all this money that the Microsofts and OpenAI's and big companies
NVIDIA.
spent irrelevant. They're going to see their market caps erode." And then, like the very next day, it was like it never happened. And the market stabilized. And I think it's almost back to where it was the day before that story came out, which was, it seems like 3 months ago. I guess it was 2 weeks ago from the time of this recording. Today is February 10th, 2025. So walk us through from your perspective. What did DeepSeek really do? Are people still in denial in the United States as far as all the big money that the big companies have invested that maybe was wasted? Or am I missing something?
Yeah. So I'll take 2 minutes to take through this whole. I'll explain from the business point of view and from the
Take
tech.
your time. It's complicated, but it's important.
Yeah, I'll take time to explain. So see what was happening with DeepSeek. So when you create a model, there are typically three stages. One is pre-training, then second one is supervised fine-tuning, and third one is reinforcement learning. Okay. If I explain in layman terms for all the viewers, pre-training is where you train the model on large data sets to make them understand human language, human thinking behavior, human knowledge. That was what OpenAI started in
Mhm.
2015, 2016 with those $1 billion of investment.
Sucking,
And
sucking in the entire internet and every book
yes,
and every
yes,
newspaper.
and making machines think like humans, making machines think like humans. And that's where the transformer architecture comes into the picture. That is the stage. Then supervised fine tuning is giving them the domain expertise. Okay, giving them, let's say, teaching them legal, teaching them mathematics through a lot of examples and a lot of sold examples, you can say, and a lot of good quality data and compute. So that is so SFT stage. And third stage is reinforcement learning, where you train it like a dog training method. If the model does good, you reward it. If the model does bad, you reprimand it. There are reward systems, just like that. And basis the reinforcement, typically reinforcement learning by OpenAI and everybody was used in the last stages when you want to take the model's accuracy from a 95% to 95% typically, right? The numbers can be different. But what DeepSeek did, they entirely skipped the second stage. So, and they jumped from first stage to third stage, reinforcement learning, and they showed it to the world that this also worked. They were able to produce equivalent and similar results. So, I give this as an analogy that don't send, it's like not sending your kid to college and school, just training them vocationally on certain skills which they're required to do on the job,
Mhm.
right? With the practical exposure. And now this guy is able to produce same amount of coding effort. Let's say you train them in Python, and then you pick up a PhD guy, and you pick up a guy who's just trained in Python for 2 3 years, and both of them are able to produce similar quality of code. but your cost to train this PhD guy and your cost to build this skill based guy who's just learned Python in 2 years. So this is a layman example how they have
Hmm.
reduced costs. Of course, technically they have used another optimization policy, which is GRPO, other group. So basically, GRPO is a technique, reinforcement learning technique, which takes into account peer-to-peer learning kind of feedback for the model rather than having actual human in the loop. Okay, in this third stage. Second thing, what DeepSeek has benefited from, how they are able to reduce the cost, is they have benefited from open source. So Meta is claiming that they have used the llamas model, the pre-training and supervised fine-tuning stage, and they've built on top of it. And other people are also saying that stuff. So what they have utilized is so they are like a kid who's seen all the toppers in the market, in the class, and then understood everybody's answers and tried to train its mind not just from teachers' notes but from the toppers' answers, right? So that's why they have reduced the time and money required, and they have picked up the already built intelligence and then built the domain's expertise, which is reasoning and thinking on top of that. So I
Hmm.
guess it's not what they say that only 6 million is used. It's not entirely true, because pre-training and that stuff is already done by people like OpenAI and other people. And in open source, a lot of these models are available, which they picked up. They are smart enough to do that. They were frugal enough to do that. Necessity is the mother of invention. But it's not entirely true that only in 6 million they're able to build this model, because a lot of other people's expertise they've also utilized. Having said that, from business point of view, I guess DeepSeek is a really good model. We have used it ourselves. As long as you host it inside your premises, right? Inside your, don't use it on the host it on the Chinese servers, or host it on the DeepSeek website. You host it on your own servers, and DeepSeek is a good model. It's better than GPT in a lot of terms, and it's cheaper than them as well in some of the
So
cases.
to follow your analogy, I mean, if I became the PhD in Python and I spent 7 years, it's not just the seven, it's not just let's say I paid tuition $100,000 a year. There's 700,000, but I'm also not working for 7 years.
Yeah.
So if I'm 18 and I'm out of the labor market for 7 years, I've lost those 7 years and I'm $700,000 in debt. If my twin brother could just, take an online course, learn Python training, get the $1 million salary at 18, by the time he's 25, he's going to have made $7 million. So he'll be $7 million ahead. If he invests that money wisely, we can both work 35 years or till we're 60. I'll never catch up with him. He'll have so much more money. Am I missing a part? Am I taking the analogy too far? Or is there a real competitive disadvantage now from those people who did it the original way, the hard way, the expensive way?
I guess the difference between this analogy and that analogy, this analogy and real world, is that real world is actually very dynamic. Now, when other people have seen that this is also a possibility, they will not send another person to do PhD, and they'll also use this technique. And it's not just one to one person comparison model, the mixture of a lot of such people. So
Mhm.
for the newer models, they're also going to follow similar kind of strategy. And another thing you have to keep in mind for this analogy: if Python as a skill evades from the market, now both of you, the PhD guy and that guy, the online learned guy, both of you have to reskill now. And if the PhD guy knows that now I don't need to do PhD in another skill and I can also follow the vocational guy thing, now you are at the same playing field. So that's why the AI field is really, really exciting, because nobody's a winner, nobody's a loser. The game is reinventing itself every single day, right?
So,
You,
but let me push back a little bit there. I mean, aren't there always a lot of losers with any new technology? I mean, hundreds, if not 1,000 car companies went out of business in the last 100 years. And at least in America, only, three big ones made it. Hundreds of radio stations and radio stations especially went out of business when that technology started. I'm old enough to remember the first internet boom and pets.com. The vast majority of funded internet companies went out of business. Aren't there a lot of losers when it comes to AI because for a while there, just attaching AI to your business plan, investors would give you money. And a lot of those are not really ever going to figure out a revenue path, are they?
Totally, 200%. That is happening. A lot of people are losing money in this game as well, and a lot of people are also going out of business. See, one thing is clear: you should not think of it as an AI, and I need to do something in AI. You should think of a real domain and market problem, and you see what are the ways of doing it. And if AI qualifies as one of the ways which has a disproportionate advantage, can create a leverage for you in the long run, then you should apply that thing in your business,
Well,
right?
that's essentially what I've done because I got into the public speaking training, media training business 40 years ago. And the model
Mhm,
then is I work one on one, bring a camera to someone, they bring or they come to me,
mhm,
personalized training. They go through extensive training after training after training, video, record, feedback, critique. And they, by the end of the day, they've done 12 different on camera
mhm,
appearances, and they've gotten dramatically, dramatically better. And they love it and they pay a lot of money for it. And I still do that. That's one model. And
mhm,
the advantage is it works really well. The disadvantage, it's not scalable. It
mhm.
99.9% of the world can't afford it. I've got to
Yeah.
fly to them or they got to fly to me. So there's a lot of downsides to that model. In 1998, I started doing online training, video
Mhm,
based, way too
mhm,
early. I lost money for 15 years. But the last 10 or so years have been great because I'm able
yeah,
to reach millions of students. It's totally scalable and it's really inexpensive and there's no travel. The problem is it's not
mhm,
that one-on-one interactivity. They can't get personalized feedback. So it's scalable, it's inexpensive, it doesn't
mhm,
really work that well. So I've
mhm,
always dreamed of how can I have the best of both worlds? How can I be scalable and yet be there for them to answer questions, give personalized feedback,
mhm,
practice with them? And that's why I decided to start a clone almost a year ago and or find a company that I could do it with. So
mhm.
that's really the dream. But as we've already discussed, it needs that agentic AI part to really
Yeah,
take it the whole way. But I didn't start off saying, oh, AI is hot. I want to get into the AI investing.
yeah. You're
I
trying to
thought
solve your
about
own
how can I
problem.
solve a problem and really
Yeah.
make
Hmm.
personalized coaching scalable around the world.
Yeah, you were solving the problem of personalization at scale, which is a real problem to solve,
Really.
right? You're not, and if AI helps you do that, that's AI. If agentic AI helps you do that, then it's agentic AI, right? So that's the right approach. So I like Warren Buffett. I also had my own rules. Like Warren Buffett has stock investing rules. I also have some AI rules.
Let's hear
AI.
your rules.
So rule number one is don't throw LLM and AI at every problem. And rule number two is never forget rule number one.
I sorry, I didn't hear the second rule.
Rule number one is don't throw AI and LLM at every problem. And rule number two is never forget rule number one.
Okay, got it. So
So
one
so
big main rule. Yeah. Because a lot
yeah,
of people do get swept up in the hype and they
yeah,
just think blah, 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 AI, blah, 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 AI, blah, blah, AI, and they think that solves everything. And for a while, you could dazzle people and you could dazzle investors because they don't know what it is or didn't know what it was, certainly
yeah.
2.5 years ago. I didn't really.
Hmm.
But investors are a little savvier these days, have higher expectations. So, does the whole deep seek and the reduction in cost help your business because it makes more people want to get involved and do this?
Yeah.
They're no longer as intimidated that, gosh, if I'm not Microsoft and have $100 billion, I can't get in.
Yeah, that has helped a lot. And one thing even we are trying to do, while I'll announce in this show, that when we did this, even a lot of people in India asked, why don't you build an Indian LLM model? You're doing it for a lot of customers, but why don't you build one model from India to put India on the AI map? And that's where me and my team are working along with some of the partners from India, that we make a model like DeepSeek much more in Indian context, which is even more cheaper and even more relevant than DeepSeek, or even and comparable to DeepSeek. So this is something we've already started doing. DeepSeek has shown us the light. I'm very, very grateful to these guys for showing the real. They have published a 30-page research paper which has almost all the data around techniques and all that stuff. We have built our own script, which is a 200 300 line code, which imitates the entire training methodology, how DeepSeek has trained its model. And we are trying to run it on a different model and trying to create a model like that of our own. So, two things DeepSeek has helped, if I summarize: number one, lowering the cost and access of using AI solutions in your business. Number two, showing to entrepreneurs and innovators like me and other people that you can also build your own stuff, and you don't require billions of dollars. Probably in few millions you can build it. So that's where we're also trying to do that stuff, because that my philosophy with Rabbit AI, what we had: own your data, own your AI, don't be the tenants of this AI world, be the landlord. That philosophy earlier was only for premium people, but now I
Yeah.
guess for middle class people also, you can
Well, as I've
actually,
learned the hard way, YouTube, these platforms can kick you off without any warning. They
without
are
any warning.
judge, jury, executioner, and you're out of luck. So I'm a big fan of owning your own data. That's
Yeah.
for
Yes.
sure. Harneet Singh, we really appreciate your time. We're almost out of time, and we appreciate how gracious you are. If people want to learn more about Rabbit AI, they can go to rabbit.ai, and you're fairly accessible. They can even book time to chat with you, and you're very successful. You've raised a lot of money and serving a lot of people. Any other ways you would like people to reach out with you on social media, or is rabbit.ai the best way?
Yeah, so I am pretty active on LinkedIn. My team manages my LinkedIn. I also personally manage it. So if they search Harneet SN on LinkedIn or Harneet Rabbit AI on LinkedIn, they'll find me. And one more thing I like to mention, TJ, on this show, that with the success of our models and technology, a lot of people asked us that there is no real knowledge and real information, cut to cut, no BS information, how a business can utilize Gen AI, what is the cost, what is the use case, which model to use, all that stuff. So there was no dearth of resources. So we have started our own uh, Rabbit Learning. So if you Google Rabbit Learning on Udemy, along with partnership with Udemy, we have launched few courses which are almost free of cost, or very minimal, less than $10 cost for anybody to subscribe. And these courses can take you through the entire Gen AI, A to Z of Gen AI, and how you can implement that in your business. So that stuff is there, which is more like
Well,
our
we'll just
foundation.
show people what's the name of the course. Our most of our listeners are very familiar with Udemy, and a lot of them
You search
found me through one of my
Rabbit
Udemy
Learning
courses.
here. You
What it,
search
what is what is it called?
Rabbit Learning.
Same way you spell your company?
Yes, yes, Rabbit Learning.
Okay. All right. So generative AI, LM fine tuning, RAG, and prompt engineering is
Yeah,
available. That's one published by your company.
yeah.
A
You can just click on
4.7
this.
rating, very highly ranked.
Yeah, you can just click on this link, the first one, and or yes, this one. So
If you
this
have
is
time,
where
if you
we.
have time, let's just give people a preview right now.
Yeah.
Are you feeling lost in the jungle of Gen AI? Rabbit is here to simplify.
I guess the
Oh,
next video.
that's a brief promo video. Okay. Or did I stop it
Yeah,
prematurely, or is that it?
next. No, no, no. Yeah, there's another video. Yeah, if you see. Yeah, second one, which
Okay.
is 9 minutes. Yeah, maybe you can play this
We'll
one
show
second.
just a minute of it if you don't mind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure, sure.
So let's get to action. What will you learn after going through this course? How your capabilities will be enhanced, and how you actually will become an AI powered professional. So let's get to the final crux of what all you will learn. After going through this course, you will understand the difference between AI and Gen AI and why it is a hype, and what actually are the capabilities of Gen AI and what part of Gen AI is hype. You will also understand the difference between large language models and regular neural networks. You will understand the transformer architecture, which is the base and background of the whole LLM development.
So it looks like a fascinating course that would be useful to a lot of people. People want more, all you have to do is go to udemy.com and type in Rabbitt, RABBITT, and you will find that course. Special thanks to Harneet Singh for being our guest today. And we look forward to seeing and hearing more from you as the fascinating story of AI continues to roll out every day around the world. Thanks again. Take care.
Thank you, TJ. It was lovely talking to you.